Welcome, all fellow Wannabes. Welcome to the show. You are listening to Game Club from Wannabe Critic Productions. If you're an audio listener, you can't see who I have here, but it's a very special episode for me. I have the members from Busch League Gaming. I have Jacob Busch, I have Ryan Scalf, and I also have Nick Beard. But you know what? In true Busch League fashion, I'm going to give you guys a Busch League intro. So first off, this guy is a wannabe Jimmy Fallon, and I'll hear nothing else of it. We have one Jacob Busch. Jacob, how you feeling tonight, brother?
Feeling hot, feeling light. I'm shocked that you pulled up the Jimmy Fallon. I haven't heard that in about 5 years, but I'll take it. He's a good guy.
How's Questlove? Is he as cool as everyone says he is?
He's ripping those drums really well. He's awesome. I love Questlove. He's a good guy.
Okay. My next guest, I was only until recently that I understood what an Intendite was, but he's easily the most reasonable one out of all three of these gentlemen that are here with me this evening, and it's Ryan Scalf. So, Ryan, how you feeling?
Notice the looks of shock. Thank you so much, Gabe.
That joke was more for Nick and Jacob.
Jokes. What?
No, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding.
I believe that our audience as a whole, I haven't had anyone confirm this, values my opinion the most.
Gabe, what you just said is the hottest take you've ever had.
Yeah.
If he is the most reasonable person.
I mean, I just gotta say, Jacob's doing his hosting thing, and Nick kind of comes at it from a really balanced angle, you know what I mean? Always,
That's
not
true.
gonna sugarcoat it, you know what I mean? He's not gonna put any personal inflection into anything he's gonna say. It's just, this is how it is, man. And if you disagree, you're wrong. And then anytime Ryan speaks, I just look forward to it. You know what I mean? It's
Thank you, Gabe.
I get it, Ryan.
That's very nice of you to say.
I get you. It works. You know what I mean? So, no,
Dude,
it is.
I was with you for about 75% of that. And you threw in the Ryan part.
Right.
Hey, Busch League intro.
Gabe, that is the nicest thing anyone has ever said. And I've been married for years.
Hey, you know what? If I'm lying, I'm dying. You know what I mean? Busch League Gaming. Go check them out. And then finally, last but not least, we have the internet's favorite Crypt Boy, and I didn't even really know what a Crypt Boy was until it started to make sense. I was like, Bitcoin, cryptocurrency, got it. Okay, Nick Beard, how's it going, brother?
It's good, man. It's good. And now that you say that, I wonder if people think crypt maybe I'm a coffin or some type of
He is
cemetery.
into really dark stuff, though.
He's a necrophiliac.
Not that far. Whoa.
I wasn't gonna bring it up, but he's trusted us with that information. So if you tell anyone, make sure you tell them not to tell anyone.
Yeah, wow. We went from Bitcoin to necrophilia. Wow.
Nick, how are you? How are you feeling?
I'm good.
How do you come back from that?
Explain
yourself,
He was
Nick.
accused of necrophilia, so I do have to apologize. He is not a necrophiliac, but he is super into Bitcoin. And I think I did coin the term for you, Crypt Boy. Is that right?
Yeah, okay. You did.
Now, Nick, can we surmise that these assumptions and these summations of you as the Crypt Boy himself, are these true? Your comment, sir.
Entirely false. We're talking about a different crypt here. We're talking about cryptocurrency, short for not that, long for Bitcoin, and we'll just leave it at that.
You're not into that, right? Yes or no?
No, not at all. I'm out.
Oh, thank God.
Different crypto.
But you do you just cryptocurrency, right?
Yes.
Oh, like Dogecoin?
No. For me, just Bitcoin, but yes.
To the moon.
We're on the same page.
He's a purist.
He's a purist, yeah. I can't be caught saying anything else.
Well, I did, I did just see that Bitcoin. I never knew that you could just buy parts of a coin, and now I feel like a big old idiot, honestly.
Yeah.
So it's 3 or 4 months ago, before it jumped 30 G's, I was kind of like, wow, I really wish I would have had this information beforehand.
Yeah.
God dang it.
Got to get your Satoshis.
Hey, man, the best time was yesterday.
Satoshis rolling.
Best time was yesterday.
I need something passive, something that's just easily accessible, easy. I just don't even think about it. You know what I mean? Just a little bit. I don't need to be rich, but we got to keep the lights on somehow. But anyways, No one actually wants to hear about that crap.
No, they
I
don't.
will be calling you. I will be texting you about it because I am kind of ignorant and I don't want to lose a bunch of money. But go check them out. So
Please do.
Go check go check the website. And I want to kind of throw it around the room a little bit. This is in fact the guys from Busch League Gaming, gentlemen. Thank you so much for taking time out of your precious life to be able to sit down and talk about video games with me. I really, really appreciate it.
It's our honor.
Oh, I appreciate that. I've guested on your show, but this is your first time you've been able to guest on anything from Wannabe Critic Productions. So this is a special thing for me. I wanted to just kind of go around the room a little bit and throw it to each one of you, and you guys could kind of talk about like how Busch League got started. Now I think we could throw it to Jacob first because I think now Jacob. Not to, it's always weird. Like, who's the host? Who's like running stuff? Who's like, doing this thing? You all have different roles for sure, but
I'm the reasonable one.
Yeah, exactly. Is it fair to say that Jacob is the one who's kind of like running the show? Because that's what I get. I've never like formally asked, but is that what's going on, Ryan and Nick?
Yeah, he's like our dad.
Yeah.
Okay.
He schedules everything.
It feels that way.
Everything
sometimes.
gets done.
Definitely
He reminds us the night before. Yeah. Packs our
So
lunch.
sometimes with Nick, it's like the hour before. I'm like,
Yeah.
hey, Nick, are you driving this direction right now? And he's like, we're recording tonight?
He's, I am now.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
He does all the editing too, so he deserves most of the credit.
Yes.
For sure.
Credit and commendation. It's a great show. I love Busch League Gaming. So I kind of wanted to throw it to Jacob first. Now, how did this all start? I'm just picturing 8-year-old Jacob Busch just sitting down writing some kind of story or something, and then all of a sudden he's like, oh, it's my dream to be a gaming podcast host. Is that how it happened? Or
I wish I had that much planning, because it's, we've said this before in maybe some other episodes, but this is a pandemic production, so like it was sparked by extreme circumstance. And I'm a very busy person. I have to stay busy. I don't like standing still. So I actually came off of just finishing my MBA, and I had a kid during my MBA as well. And I was like, hey, I need some more stuff to do. And the pandemic was hitting me pretty hard mentally. And I was like, I need something that is a creative outlet as well. So we've always talked about writing, like just a website where we wrote about stuff. Not necessarily reviews, but just writing in the video game space. And then during the pandemic, like a podcast just clicked, and I approached the guys. Originally, it was just like, I need a website, and that's kind of the core of what it was. It was going to be a blog, and reviews came later. But then we kind of talked about it, and like, so Ryan's my cousin or cousin brother.
We're cousin brothers.
We're cousin-in-laws.
Don't think too much about it.
If you're from the South, don't think too much about that. But
someone from the South is listening, we're like, oh,
I
got a cousin brother too.
Someone from the South is, I've got a cousin brother too.
Oh, I got two cousin brothers.
And Nick and I have known each other for like 10 years maybe, right? And so we've all been like best friends for a long time. And we do this like Wednesday morning coffee session before work. We all meet up, and Adam, he's been on a couple of our episodes. You've met Adam before.
I love Adam. Love that guy.
Yeah, and there's some other friends too, but we meet up for a morning coffee session, and it's just a really good time for us to talk before work and catch up during the week, because we just keep getting busier and busier. And what those conversations turn into a lot of the times were video game conversations. So like one of the ones we've talked about the most is Red Dead Redemption 2. We love Red Dead Redemption 2. It took our headspace for like 3 or 4 weeks of these coffee sessions of just talking about this game. And we were like, man, I wish we recorded that, right? And that was kind of the first clue of a podcast to me. And then I brought it up to Ryan and Nick, and they were on board immediately. Like, there was no questions asked. And I mean, obviously, I was somewhat the brainchild of this, but like Busch League Gaming is nothing without Ryan and Nick. Like, Ryan and Nick write, they review, they're on all these episodes. Like, it is a team effort, and though, and I need to clarify, because there's a podcast episode that's coming out soon. It's our Tetris Effect episode. This naming system came from Ryan. I want everyone to know this right now. Busch League Gaming came from Ryan Scalf.
What can I say? Yeah, I just, Jacob pitches things to me, and then I really think them out, and I do most of like the thought processing.
Yes,
and
sure.
So like everything they say, I've already written for them. Everything we have here is prepared for them.
Yeah, it was kind of weird. You
they'll
sent
do
me a
great.
script. You sent me a script with all the jokes that I needed to say. Like,
And you're doing awesome.
I was
You're
kind of
doing
weird.
awesome.
I was like, oh, okay, so that's how it's gonna be.
Yeah.
It is. We are a fully scripted show. I edit everything, and in all honesty, this is a testament for. We've been on the Assemble podcast before, unscripted. We're an edited we're an edited podcast. So like our flubs, you don't hear them. You're gonna hear them right now first on the Wannabe Critic podcast. That's what's gonna happen.
It's gonna
tonight.
be bad.
Yeah, so I mean, it's a testament to our editing ability. So I edit a lot with our podcast. So what I'm saying is that what listeners are going to see, what viewers are going to see today, is the raw Busch League Gaming. It's not seen often because I cut the minutia, I cut the 20-second pauses, but
I paused quite a bit. Yeah, gathering my thoughts. Yeah,
pregnant pause king over here. But nonetheless, we're happy to be here today. That is Busch League Gaming's history. Am I missing anything, guys?
No, other than you gave Ryan
Where were you
credit for
born?
the name.
Of course, I did give Ryan credit for the name.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, because originally we had thought about saying you came up with maybe press X, and we are like,
Oh,
well,
man.
if you say that fast, it sounds like press X.
Yeah.
Right.
And we're like, that's not gonna work.
Yeah. There were some other names thrown out there, and they're all taken, and they're all not great. And
Yeah.
I'm going to argue the point that Busch League Gaming still, it's a mediocre name, but that's what we're going with today.
Yeah.
I
Mediocre
mean,
name for a mediocre group.
I mean, it's one of those things, and I would have to say I think it comes with maturity too. That you guys like, you think Busch League Gaming, and it's like you already have kind of a sense of what you're in for potentially, and then when you
We
sit
do
down-
average well.
yeah,
really
and it's
well.
like whenever you sit down to actually listen to a show, it's like this is exactly what I like. This is relatable. These are practical points. This is, some people didn't play the entire thing, but the other two people did, so it's kind of interesting to hear kind of the back and forth, and it's everything's very well lined out to where it kind of gets to a point where I'm like, whenever people see Wannabe stuff, like Wannabe Critic Productions, like what is that? And then they check it out, it's like, oh, like this is actually like impressive, and I feel like Busch League Gaming has gotten to a point where it kind of flips that idea on its head. And no one wants to actually be considered like not being taken seriously, and if you do, you're an idiot. Like come on, this isn't, we're not 16 years old anymore. You know what I mean? Like, it's fun to like kind of put things on their head and change switch up the idea a little bit, but I genuinely don't want someone to listen to it and be like, well, I mean, it is called the Wannabe Critic podcast, or the Wannabe whatever. It's like I want people to kind of be surprised, and that's every time I sit down to listen to your show, that's how it feels.
Well, the intent is to set the bar low, and then when the bar is low, anything above that is satisfactory.
When you trip and fall over the bar, it's success.
You trip, fall over the bar, and then maybe you fall into a puddle of something kind of exciting.
That counts.
It
Yeah, we'll
counts.
count it.
We'll take it.
Yeah,
We'll
totally.
round up.
Totally. Well, no, it's Jacob, I appreciate you kind of shedding some light on the history of it. I want to throw it to Ryan. So explain to the listeners because I was like, every time I listen to the show, I'm like, what is a freaking Nintendite? What is that?
Ooh.
Yeah, so
go for it.
That's a term that I just made up for like absolutely no reason. Really, I'm a huge Nintendo fan. I've played like all of their games. I've owned all of their systems almost, except for the original Nintendo Entertainment Center system. I never actually owned that, but I've played most of those games, I feel like. And so my whole video gaming history started with Nintendo, and I still absolutely love them and what they continue to put out. Along with that, I am probably their biggest critic. I know that they hate me, and I just take that punishment. I'm part of the problem when they put out not great things. I still buy it and consume it, and that's what a Nintendite is.
It's actually a medical condition.
Yeah, I don't have a choice.
Nintenditis. Nintenditis is what you're protected. And then also, dude, I'm right there with you. I love Nintendo. Nintendo was my first love for sure. Like I always played games, and then like Xbox 360 kind of like made me take them more seriously. But I've always had a Nintendo console, and it does one of those things. It's like, wow, Mario 35th anniversary. This is great. You're taking it off of the store. How does that make any sense? Also, who thought it was a good idea to put Apex Legends on the Switch? Just curious. And I guess that's not really a Nintendo decision, but still, it's like Nintendo's like, yeah, sure, you can throw it on our system. You know what
investors.
I mean? It's
We could literally do a whole episode on that, and I'm prepared to do that. If you want to change this episode's topic,
we will do a full episode on that someday. I promise you, we will.
yeah, I see it in the script right here. Digress to Nintendo. Okay,
yes,
here we are.
Yeah, thank you
Yeah,
for
yeah.
reading
That's
the
the
script because some people don't, Jacob.
Yeah, exactly.
Sorry about that.
No, Ryan, thank you for describing, and it's good to get kind of a flavor for your personality as well, because it was one of those things, like, first time I sat down with you guys, I didn't quite know how to take all three of you, because you're all three very different individuals with, like, strong personalities in your own right. Like, Ryan will say some stuff sometimes, like, sometimes I'll be vacuuming, or like cleaning or washing the dishes, I'm listening to the show, and like I'm all like, you never know who's going to be on the show with you guys, right? So it's like whenever Ryan's there, like someone will say something. Sometimes it's Ryan. Sometimes it's very rarely Jacob. It's either Ryan or Nick usually most of the time. Like they'll say something and I'm like, if I was a developer listening to these guys, I would be like, it hurts my feelings because it's true. You know what I mean? like is how it would feel. And
That's mostly Ryan.
And that's great. It's great.
I'm not here to hurt anyone's feelings, but I will say that Jacob probably has the hottest takes of anyone, but because like he's always thinking, oh crap, I'm gonna have to edit that out because I always say something way over the line.
Yes.
I am distracting him from being able to say the things that he would normally be saying because he's right there along with me.
100%.
Yeah.
But I get that safety net of knowing that I have to, curate this podcast.
You're much more mature because of this. You've
honestly,
grown a lot.
and Gabe, you'll understand this, but when you are producing, your mind is in a different place sometimes, and unfortunately, it's not always in the conversation. So I'm a much more mild person when I am hosting and producing an episode, while when I'm guesting, hey,
he's the spiciest of us.
Get ready for some hot takes today, Gabe. I'm not hosting today.
I'm ready because you know how much this game means to me. You know what I mean?
I do.
So.
I'm ready to go right for the jugular.
Do it. I mean, I'm trained in jugular
Protection.
Cowboy combat.
Frontal jugular attacks. All right, I'm trained.
Full frontal jugular.
Full frontal, fully exposed jugular attacks is all I have to say. Nick, you're kind of like, you're not a Nintendite that I know of. You're not the host of the show. I've seen you like tweet some stuff about some games. And, from what I hear for this review tonight, you didn't even finish the game that we're talking about. Do you even like video games? I just want to know.
So that was actually a mistake. Jacob pointed at me because most often I'm the one that doesn't finish. Tonight, Ryan is the one that didn't finish. I finished. Oh. But to answer your question, I do like video games. Yes, very much.
I'm going to hop in there real quick, too. So we all have our strengths. And Nick, by and far, and he's an evangelist of this, and he's persuading us, he is the mobile guy. Now, as PC gamers crap on console gamers crap on mobile gamers.
All day.
It's just a circle, and in my opinion...
And mobile gamers just take it.
Gamers just take it. And guess what? Mobile gaming is the highest grossing, highest growing field in gaming. And Nick's ahead of that curve, so he's the mobile expert.
He knows it really well, yeah.
Dude, it's one of those things where I wasn't a believer until we were talking about Call of Duty Mobile, and I checked it out. That mobile gaming has done its job when someone who doesn't play video games recommends like a banger to you, and you're like, dude, you should buy a PlayStation. He's like, nah, I'm not into that. Like, I'm like, you're yes you are. Like, nah, I don't want to spend money on it, and then of course a few weeks goes down the line and they're not actually, playing the games anymore. But still, mobile gaming definitely has its place. Games are games. Like,
games are games.
It's now that I've done the mobile thing, I play on PlayStation primarily. I do have a PC. I did secure an Xbox Series S because I missed my Xbox after getting a PC. So there's a lane for all of it, and that is good to know, though, that you're the mobile gaming guy. So, like, what have you been playing as of late, mobile gaming wise, Nick?
I just play everything, to be honest, but I've been playing Genshin Impact. I'm always playing Call of Duty. I think that's a good one on there. Apple Arcade, so I pretty much just try all the new games. I've even beta tested a few of them before they come out. And look, mobile gaming is not console gaming in the same way that console gaming is not PC gaming. And, it is what it is. I think, obviously, it's the highest grossing because there's more cell phones out there than there is consoles and PCs, and that's cool. But, I got to push back on the people that are hating mobile gaming, and especially like the whole Diablo thing that came out when that guy was like, "What are you doing?" And the guy was like, "What, do you not have a cell phone?" And it's like, look, every one of those Diablo fans is going to download it on their phone. They're going to play it. They're going to absolutely love it. And then millions of people that can't play Diablo on consoles and PC are going to play it and enjoy it. And they're going to make money off it. And it's going to help them make more games and hire more people. So, yeah, I think that the pushback on the mobile gaming is kind of silly. And look, it's going to grow. It's going to get better. And it's going to get bigger. And people are going to like it. And your mom's going to be playing Diablo in the living room. So,
and I have a crispy take for you, too. Ooh. Depending on what iPad device, whatever you have, those games are running better than your Nintendo Switch.
Yes,
100%,
1,000%. A lot of people
Painfully
don't know.
True.
Hey, guess what? You got an Oculus? Guess what that is? Literally the same stuff they put inside of phones to run those games. So it's not an experience. It doesn't have to be the same experience because it's a completely different thing. They're not trying to be console gaming. I applaud you, Nick, because I'm right there with you. Apple Arcade, highly slept on. So good. So good.
So slept on. Yep.
Yeah, it'll get
awesome. There. So, yeah, exactly. There you go. I like your optimism. That's great.
Yeah.
Well, guys, technical difficulties aside, it's nice to kind of, hear a little bit from you. The listeners can kind of get, an idea of who you are. And if you're watching this, you have an idea of who they are and what they look like. So, story time, it feels like not that long ago. I sat down to do a show with you guys. I believe we talked about bug snacks.
Ooh, yes.
Was the last thing.
Why'd you have to bring that up?
I'm sorry. Anytime I see out. Anytime I tell you what, and this is no lie, and this is an issue for me as a person. This is a personal thing I need to work on. Anytime, because I know there's a litany of people out there that love that game for different reasons. They love it. And anytime anyone has anything, and I mean anything good to say about that game, I literally have to close out of Twitter and just put my phone away because I go. So I basically just go absolutely ballistic in my mind and foaming at the mouth almost. It's a problem. I shouldn't be that mad over, what was the village that was there? Snacksburg.
Yeah,
I shouldn't be that upset over the inhabitants of Snacksburg, but it was just I just don't anything. Anyway, I have nothing good to say about that game other than it, You guys were going to tear that wound back open? You know what? No, I'm just kidding.
Well, you opened it.
You brought it up.
I know.
That's like tons of therapy coming back to me right
Gabe,
now.
I'm still in therapy.
We have a hard time with that as well. It's one of two things. We are so disconnected that we don't understand what good games are, or other people are so wrong. And I'm not willing to explore either of those options right now. But all it is it's an open wound, and we're going to fly through it. But hey, we're in that wound together, Gabe. We're in that with you.
I'm going somewhere with this because I was talking to you guys after that show, and somewhere in that I found a silver lining because I remember I was listening to that episode and I made a comment. I was like, I feel like the developers of Bug Snacks should go talk to the folks over at Supergiant because, the folks over at Supergiant, they make some good stuff. And, it was kind of somehow got brought up. It was like, oh, I've only played Hades. Everyone's only played Hades in your group. I was like, oh my God, well, we should totally do this thing where we go through all the Supergiant games. Now, full disclosure, me and one Jace Gamble, a.k.a. one of the old Geekly Biweekly alum, a.k.a. my old co-host, we actually did an episode on Bastion just to kind of get, the Game Club feed started. But I am always down to talk about Bastion, and this is a completely different type of conversation around the game. So I want to kind of go around the room and like talk to you guys about this game, because I hold it in such high esteem. I just made a video recently, even where I talked about like without Bastion, I'm not making stuff. I'm not pursuing content in any way, right? So I'm kind of looking like, am I out of touch? You know what I mean? Like, are my thoughts? Am I looking at this game through rose-colored glasses? Like, have I been done it? Because I feel like I've always been kind of straight on with my criticisms of the game. But I wanted to reach out to you guys and see what you thought. So, in true wannabe fashion, we are going to go around the room. Everyone say, now, full disclosure, as we said before, Ryan has not finished the game. Shame on you. You need to go back and finish it.
I will for sure.
But from what you've played, do we like this game? Yes or no? So we'll go Jacob, Ryan, Nick. You do your thing.
Do I like this game? Yes.
Yes.
Yes for Nick.
And I, of course, I'm over the moon of it. Okay, so that's great. So the recap of Bastion. You know what? I'm just gonna pull an old faithful. There's this little website, you might have heard of it. It's called Wikipedia.
Ooh.
And they have pretty good synopses of games. I don't know if there's a plural, if there needs to be a plural on that. But it says Bastion is an action role-playing video game developed by independent developer Supergiant Games and originally published in 2011 by Warner Brothers Interactive Entertainment. In the game, the player controls the Kid as he moves through floating fantasy-themed environments and fights enemies of various types. It is currently sitting on a 4.1 on Google. And if you go to Steam, it will show overwhelmingly positive reviews. People love this game. So I just kind of wanted to get it started. All the positive stuff, right? Because, and I guess we could ask another question. It's in the same order. Do we have problems with this game?
In the same order, yes. I do have problems with this game. And they're not crazy, and a lot of them are due to its age. So we're talking about a 10-year-old game now, right? I'm sure you experienced this game probably closer to its inception, but I'm experiencing it 10 years later after playing Hades. So it's not fair to hold someone to the same standard of like, hey, you just played their, best version of their games, and now you're going back to the start. So I have to keep that in mind. I have to keep, we keep context in mind at Busch League Gaming. That's one of our kind of criteria. But so when I consider that, yes, there are still issues. So the biggest issue that I identified is that this game emphasizes range combat and shooting mechanics, right? You have a melee combat, and then you have a ranged combat. Well, some of your melees are even ranged as well. So my biggest issue is that the ranged combat doesn't feel good. Like, the auto locking doesn't work great. And I played games that do it well on so I played this game on the Switch. That's worth clarifying. I played games where, twin stick shooting works. I think twin stick shooting was appropriate for this game. And granted, it's 10 years old, but the fact that I auto lock onto enemies that I didn't want to auto lock onto is an issue. And it's a dated issue, but when I'm playing it in 2021, that's the issue I'm encountering, and it's kind of frustrating. So that's probably at the top of my list. And I'm curious, Gabe, have you played it since then, and do you have any issues with range combat?
Yeah, so I revisit this game usually about once every other year. I just get that hankering. I was like, I need to feel something, and I'll go back to Bastion. It's either Bastion or BioShock. So totally get it. Totally warranted. And it's funny, I actually played this game in 2020. Well, no, that's not right. I played it in 2014 the first time. So, it had been out for a few years, but nonetheless, whatever. But yeah, no, totally warranted critique. I would say totally the thing of, and I think a big thing with this game too, it depends on what weapons you're using, and what weapons really talk to you. Because for me, I've played this game a bunch of times. I know, once I get the 6 shooters and, the 6 shooters and, the 6 shooters are basically my main. That's usually what I have out pretty much the entire time. That and the fire bellows. Whenever I get those two weapons, That's
dude.
basically
That's
what
my
I
same
use.
right there.
Yeah, which
so,
let's speak to that, Gabe. So like same, like, and I'm curious with Nick as well, who finished the game. But 6 shooters, that's once I got 6 shooters, I stuck with that throughout the whole game. And yes, that does contribute to the ranged combat. My other weapon of choice were the whatever those quick swords were. Gabe, can you help me out with that? With the machete, the war machete.
The war machete. Yeah.
So the war machete also has a ranged element. So I'm both my melee and my ranged are both ranged, and this issue with controls is compounded by that.
Yeah.
This is probably my biggest issue with the game. The other small issue I have is how slow the character, how slow the kid actually moves throughout the world. And that's in contrast to something like Hades, where like you are dashing. And I think it's an aged mechanic that we don't fully realize until we go back to these games. We moved pretty slow in older games. Like if we go back a decade,
Especially
our
Pokemon.
patience for movement was a lot higher
Yeah.
than today. So, Gabe, my only two biggest critiques are the ranged controls and then also how slow the character, the kid, actually moves.
So you're trying to tell me that you never did the Zelda dash as a kid.
Please help me out here.
What
What am I
that?
missing right now?
The roll?
So, the roll, like
Oh,
the
yeah,
Zelda
yeah.
roll. So the kid can roll.
That's all
He
I
can't.
do.
Which,
Which
by
you
the
can't,
way,
yeah.
that was one of the best lines in the whole game, as far as I experienced, where the narration, sorry, I'm going off a tangent now, but the narration is amazing.
So good.
And as you're like learning to play, the stranger, or what does his name end up becoming?
Well, it's the guy that it's the guy with the white hair that you end up meeting in the game. He's the narrator.
Right.
His name's
I forgot.
His name's Rux.
Yes.
Rux, that's right. There's like one point where you're just learning how to play the game, and he goes, and he's just somersaulting everywhere.
Yeah, exactly.
I was
Yeah.
like, man, this is amazing.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
So yes, Gabe, I did roll everywhere, but again, rolling can only get you so far. I
Yeah.
need a little quicker movement.
life lesson.
My
Well,
base
and it
movement
is-
was too slow.
Yeah, every time I go back to the game too, I'm always like, God, I know where I need to go. I cannot get there fast enough. Like
Exactly.
And I just find myself just like rolling. And that's my one. Like that's the thing I don't like about Zelda. Some of the times too is like, God, I want to sprint. Like,
Yep.
you know, and you just can't. But it is what it is. No, I think those are honestly two of the most popular complaints with this game. Honestly,
Okay.
is everything you just said. So well founded, well warranted. I'm happy to hear your thoughts. You somehow managed to get your pros and cons in the same, the same, whatever you want to call it, the same rebuttal. So there you go.
I've got some more pros if you're waiting for them. Whenever you want those pros, I'll tell
Here's
you.
where how it's gonna go. We're gonna go from person to person, and
I know.
I need to hear it
Yeah,
all.
wait your
I know how
turn,
it goes.
Jacob.
I know how it goes.
See what he does,
Ryan, hey,
if we didn't jump in,
let's throw it to the guy
It would
who,
be
who
the-
couldn't
it would-
finish the game.
it
Let's throw
would
it
be
to
the
that guy.
Jacob Busch show.
Ryan wrote everyone's responses already.
Yeah, I didn't write any of that in the script, and he just goes off.
You're just
I
going
am
off. How
brain
dare
brought
you?
a lot. I am
First of
brought
all,
a
how
lot.
dare you? No, we'll come back to you. I do want to hear from the other guys, and I'll come back and we can talk about smaller things, things that we really notice that we like. So I'm assuming, Ryan, how far did you get in the game?
What's the best way to gauge? So in actual Bastion, I had 5 of like the shops built.
Okay, so
Is that a good gauge?
So like
Yeah.
40%.
yeah, I would
how
say that's
much?
a little less than half. I would say.
40%.
Yeah. I know it's definitely less than half for sure.
Which, by the way, spoilers. Slight spoilers for Ryan. And actually, we're just gonna full on spoil this thing because
Yes.
it's been 10
Whoa.
years, and
In Wannabe
you need to
fashion,
finish
I'll
it.
just-
You'll still finish it. It'll be fine. He's taking off the headphones. Basically, you were at a point where literally it was about to get to where you couldn't put the game down because you would have been addicted.
I'm not even kidding you. I was literally playing this game right before we started podcasting.
Oh,
Like
well, so
I
it's fresh in
drove
mind.
over to Jacob's and I had just been playing it, and I was like kind of running late because I was literally playing it.
Well, that's fine. At least it's fresh in mind. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
You're gonna
no,
find a
I
silver
think it's
lining.
great, and I
It
know
is
I'm going to
great.
go home and continue to play it because
And you're gonna-
I reached that point.
Yeah, So okay, I'm not going to say anything else. But what were your kind of like? You can just go into like your favorite things as well as the things you weren't super duper crazy about.
I actually love range combat, and I know like it didn't really bother me. Maybe I haven't played far enough for like the auto aim to really.
He hasn't played Hades yet. That's the biggest.
Yeah, I have not played Hades, so I know that whole weapon set is completely different. I love that aspect of the game. I do agree that it's kind of slow moving, and that is in the same way. Like my niece and nephew, I cannot get them to play a game with old graphics. Something about kids, once they've experienced like good 4K graphics, they cannot go back. And for me, sometimes like when I didn't play the original versions of this type of genre, it's hard for me to go back to like the older games, like the more archaic ones. So it is like the speed is definitely different because I've watched them play Hades quite a bit. I've watched like a bunch of gameplay videos and stuff. And that's the type of gameplay I'm used to. So I can see how like further along in this game, I would get a little, it's a little daunting, I guess, moving throughout the map.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. And, this is coming from someone who hasn't beaten Hades yet. It's that thing of every time I'm waiting for PlayStation, Jacob. God.
I don't get it.
Wait, I thought you were talking about me.
No,
you haven't.
No,
Gabe,
I haven't beaten it either, dude.
Both of you.
Elaborate, please, Gabe. I'm waiting for your response on why you haven't beaten Hades yet.
I want those sweet trophies. Is what I'm waiting for.
So, do you own it on Switch yet?
Hades?
Yeah.
Yeah, I have. I've literally started playing Hades, and I'm like, oh, this feels exactly like Bastion. And it's like, oh, that's Darren Korb. Like, Darren Korb is Zagreus. So I'm like, well, I love Darren Korb, so now I'm like interested. It's like, but there's no trophies. I really want trophies.
Dude, Darren and Ashley both are present in Hades, and I know you've interviewed both of them, but this is the thing about trophies, and this is the thing about Hades. It's so replayable. Play it, beat it on Switch, and then replay it and get the trophies on PlayStation. That's as simple
Hades
as it is.
Hades is going to be your new Bastion.
I'm sure it will, and it's one of those things where it's like, admittedly, this might sound crazy, and maybe it's because I've spent so much time with Bastion. I booted up, and I'm like, I don't know any of these weapons. It feels like Bastion. I don't know any of these weapons. I'm like, this is a lame weapon. Why did I pick this one? Like, it's like I guess I'll try again. I haven't gotten to the point to where it just has hooked me to where I'm like, I gotta go again. You know what I mean? And
fair.
But I'm definitely gonna give it due diligence. My backlog is ridiculous. Plus, I have this little thing. You might have heard of it. It's called Wannabe Critic Productions. So there's only so much time I'm spending on. I haven't been playing my Switch a ton, admittedly.
Fair.
So but I promise you, it's going to get played. It's a Supergiant game. I have to play it, to death. But
I'm sure we'll do an episode on our saga of
because this is just the first.
And maybe that's when I'll finally play it.
Yeah, that's actually perfect because Ryan still hasn't played Hades. We gave Hades a 10 out of 10 over at Busch League Gaming. Huge deal for us. We don't give that lightly, especially to like whenever an indie game transcends these AAA titles. I mean, this bias that we all have, Hades should be praised. And like, Gabe, when you approached us to do this Supergiant series, that's what intrigued me the most. Like, we gave a game a 10 out of 10, not playing their predecessors. So like going back and seeing this kind of this pedigree and this lineage, that enticed us so much. So like that's why I'm super excited to see Bastion and see how kind of Supergiant progressed as a developer. And obviously the ultimate of Hades is what we loved.
Yeah. Well, and I think I've watched like the no clip stuff because there is documentaries up from basically I think there's two no clip documentaries. There's basically like the story of Hades. I think there's one on Pyre. Actually, I think there's one for pretty much every single one of the games. I think there is a no clip documentary for them. So definitely go check it out if you haven't. But I'm looking forward to like really talking these games over time and really taking our time with them, right? And I have no problems with the hot takes of having someone who hasn't quite played yet, because guess what? We're gonna do another review, and I'm sure once Ryan's finished, he'll come back around and have more to say about it's all gonna be kind of like one free flowing review, right? Of here's it is, and at the end of the saga, as George Lucas would call it, we are going to give it a rating. The entire Supergiant discography a rating as a whole.
Ooh.
So I'm dropping that for the first time.
Yeah.
I wanted to tell you guys
Interesting.
semi in person. But Ryan, did you have anything negative where you're like, God, I don't like this?
Now, I didn't really approach anything yet that made me feel that way. Aside from the speed, which wasn't like a deal breaker for me. It was kind of like annoying, but it wasn't at all something that I felt like took away from the game substantially. So, yeah, I haven't reached a point yet where I felt this was a negative.
Okay. Right on. Makes sense. Nick, let's throw it over to you, the Crypt Boy himself. Nick, so sing the praises about the game, and then go. You heard how they did it. You do your thing. You do the Nick.
Yeah, the praises.
Read your script.
Yeah, there we go. The narration, couldn't praise that enough. For me, that's something that speaks to me. Any type of storytelling, anything like that's a little bit deeper and has to do with characters and character development. That to me is always just the suck in. Also, the art. I really like the art. To be honest, I didn't realize it was that old of a game. Being honest right now.
That's a high praise.
It looked really good. And disclaimer, this will take us into the bad sides of my experience. I played it on an iPad Pro 12.9 inch, and so the mechanics are not good on the iPad.
Did you know this, Gabe?
You didn't link your DualShock to it?
No, it doesn't have controller support. And that...
Excuse me?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty... And like, so Gabe, before this...
You might as well play it.
Exactly. So before this recording, Nick handed me
that
his
was
iPad.
our thought.
Yeah, Nick handed me his iPad and was like, hey, just try this real quick. It is not the same game.
Yeah.
So, like, we need to clarify this. Nick played... Sure, he played the whole game. But, like, again... Busch League Gaming and Wannabe Critic Productions are very similar in the sense of like we are letting consumers know about a product. On a product level, from what I played on the Switch and what Nick played on the iPad, they're completely different. So what Supergiant set out to do, I feel like, is more encapsulated in the Switch, and by far and wide, the iPad is not the platform to play this on. And Nick, that's your call too.
Yeah, 100%. So I would say this: it was $4.99. In my opinion, totally worth $5.
I paid $2.99.
Yeah, I think it's
eShop sale.
I think it's nice. I think it's a fun game. In playing this, I knew just from the start. I was like, okay, this is not how the mechanics are on console. And so I knew that going in, but the art, the narration, us doing this together, it being a Supergiant game, all those things still kind of pushed me through. I didn't really dread it, but definitely wasn't my favorite. Definitely wasn't my favorite. And it adds another layer to the ranged weapon system. And rolling is hard because you have to double tap, and wherever you double tap, like that's where you're rolling. Well, I fell off the cliff like 10 times every level, and so it just made it a little bit harder. The mechanics were not forgiving, and so yeah, I would say that if you're expecting to get the true experience, do not play it on mobile. But if you just like the game, you don't have a Switch, don't have a console, and you don't mind spending $5, I think it's totally worth it. But just be prepared that it's not the same. It doesn't have controller support. Probably will never have controller support.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and I think about too, from what I've gathered, and thank you so much for clarifying what you played on and like giving an honest, an honest review of it, because all the praises that we've all been singing, they kind of all ring true and one and the same. It's like we all kind of love the same things about the game. It does kind of turn into a conversation of is like, okay, well, what don't you like about it? Because if you don't like this game, I don't think you like video games. Because this is a very video gamey thing, and
yeah.
Freaking Nick Baird freaking played it on an iPad and still had a good time. So, play Bastion. But in talking with Darren Korb and Ashley Barrett they both kind of said this thing of like whenever they move on from a game, there comes a point to where it's like, okay, we're done. We're done with this game, right? And to me, I always thought that was super interesting because, you know, and I'm assuming there's probably bug fixes maybe here and there, but for the most part, for the most part, you're kind of moved on from being in that headspace. I think I kind of equate it in the same way of like whenever I'm working on a song, if I get something that sounds good the first day and it's done, and I'm like, oh, I like this, like this sounds good. I'm done with it. Yeah. I'm done. Like, it doesn't matter if it's for a wedding or if I'm going to share it with people. It's like, no, this is what it is. And then, you get feedback. It's like, oh, but you could have done this. But if it's like, yeah, I could have. I didn't, though. It made sense in the moment. And it's worth noting, too, they're under different publishing, right, at this point. This is Warner Brothers at this point, too. So I wonder how much of that influence could have been affected by that. It's like, hey, we need to make money off of this small indie game, whatever. Yeah. But it is worth noting that Transistor, the follow-up, to Bastion, is also on the Apple Store and is also $5 and is a completely different style of game. So I would be interested if you're the mobile guy. I would be interested, Nick, to see if you would potentially maybe commit and playing Transistor on iPad or whatever. I mean, you don't have to, obviously.
No, I'm definitely gonna play it on mobile. And as you were talking like 5 minutes ago, Jacob actually was clicking the buy button and trying to tilt the phone upward to read my face to buy it. So if you saw us laughing, that's what was going on.
So and Gabe, I bought Transistor on the Switch already. There was a big sale.
So did I
think Ryan did as well. So it was only appropriate that Nick picked up mobile. And we've been talking about the Backbone controller too, and I'm hoping they have controller support because, man, mobile games are cool, but once you pair it with a Backbone controller or pair it with a DualSense or a DualShock 4, whatever it is, like that really separates the mobile medium. Where again, I think that Supergiant did not intend for you to play with touch controls.
No.
To your point, was it Warner Brothers? They probably were like, yeah, we're going to make more money by just having it here, and we're not going to put the controller support in. But at the end of the day, play it how the developer wanted you to play it. And I'm hoping that Transistor, when we review that, it does have controller support.
And I think about, you probably look at a time period where the majority of people that were playing games on their phone at that time, because it was on the Apple Store back like whenever the iPhone 4S was a thing.
Oh, wow.
So, I mean, it's been on there for a long time. But you think about like how much the gaming landscape has changed with mobile games. I mean, you download Angry Birds on your phone and play it in your spare time. Like no one was actually trying to take gaming seriously. I think the most serious gaming that we could have gotten at that time was probably the Infinity Blade series, if you remember that.
Yes. Oh
my gosh. Yeah.
But that was about as serious as we took it, right? And we, I spent copious amounts of time on Angry Birds just as much as the next person, but we weren't at the Apple Arcade level, right? We weren't at the time period where you can actually play a game on your phone and have it play better than Nintendo's top-of-the-line mobile console.
Yeah.
Is that more of a statement about Nintendo?
Yeah. Well, hey, look, the Genshin Impact, the fact that you can play an open-world game like that on your phone, or even the Grand Theft Autos, I mean, it's just astounding where mobile gaming's at today. And
it's boggling. It's mind-boggling.
I imagine with things like the Backbone coming out, and more pairing support, I imagine that this is going to be a checklist item for every mobile game in the future. I know that to be on Apple Arcade, it has to be cross-platform. It has to be Apple says, okay, we'll put you on the arcade. I'm sure they get fleeced at some point there during the cost, but like they have to meet requirements to be on arcade. And I'm sure that in the future it's going to be a checklist item for every mobile game.
Yeah. And I mean, I think about it too. And like, if you look at a lot of these high quality games that are out, Tencent has their name all over it. A lot of this stuff that comes out. So as long as Tencent keeps making money, they're going to keep dumping lots of their money into the mobile market. Because they're smart and they realize they are not the guy at the Diablo conference who now looks like a complete chode, basically, for lack of a better word. He got
great use of the word chode.
My bro,
I haven't heard that word in like 6 years.
My bro literally got up there and verbatim, the guy said, "Is this an out of season April Fool's joke?" And in that moment, I remember thinking to myself, "You are a freaking idiot."
Yeah.
If you don't realize that literally this is a multi-million-dollar idea for Blizzard, you obviously don't know how the world works. So
multi-million is probably underselling it.
Yeah, I mean it's insane. And then it's like you got what I just saw. They had like Diablo 2 that just got re-released. So it's like there you go, April Fool's guy. Go cry. Anyways, moving away from the mobile stuff, I do if you're down to commit to it, I would love to hear your thoughts because Transistor is a completely different style of game.
I'm committing to it right now.
Good,
Boom.
I'm glad.
Boom.
Ryan, are you drinking a White Claw?
This is a Kirkland brand ripoff.
Oh, as long as it's a seltzer, like I'm down with the
Just
seltzers.
a cheaper way to get
We're
alcohol
frugal
into
at
the
Busch
body.
League.
Yeah, I feel you. You gotta buy the cheap knockoffs so you can have the nice microphones. Is all I'm saying.
That's
Here
right, brother.
Here we
Yeah,
are.
Priorities.
Makes the most sense. So we've sang the game's praises. We've kind of talked about some things that we're not crazy about. Of course, I need to give my 2 cents and kind of expound on the story a little bit of a very young Gabester at the age of, I guess I was 16, 17 at that point. So I'm gonna risk it. We've had some good connections so far, but to really get into it, my camera's off. Maybe the universe is trying to tell me something. Hold on. Here's the story. Here it comes. Watch me cut out as soon as I turn my camera back on. So it's like I'm like a junior, right? And for those of you who don't know, I'm from Joplin, Missouri. So summer of, I believe it was 2012, May 11th or May 22nd. I'm sorry. Like the largest tornado on the record for United States blew through my hometown and blew everything away. Like destroyed like the most like industrial part of the city, and it was horrible. Like destroyed our high school. Like it was insane. So there's like a portion of my life, and it was kind of weird because I was like super sweating it because I thought that I wasn't gonna pass algebra, and which was dumb because algebra's dumb unless you're the Crip boy himself.
An engineer.
Yeah.
We got an engineer.
Yeah.
We have an engineer.
Unless
I hate it too. I hate it too.
And I'm like, I'm never going to use it. I'm doing just fine without algebra. You know what I mean? There's a thing. You might have heard of it. It's called a calculator. So it was just I don't remember a lot of it. I remember not knowing what I was going to go to school there. I remember them saying like, oh, like they're going to have the school in a mall. And I was like, what? Like in a mall? I don't want to go to school in the mall. That sounds horrible.
That's weird, Gabe. I want to go to school in a mall. That's weird.
That sounds sick.
It's kind of crazy, like because real life like kind of started for me, like kind of viewing things how the world really is, right? Like around 16 or 17, because it was like I started hearing. I went to an arts school in Arkansas for a semester and a half, and then I actually ended up going back to Joplin to finish school. But it was around that time. It was like everything was a blur during that time, and I remember hearing rumblings of like they're passing everybody basically. Like I haven't gone to so I remember a friend texting me and he'd be like, dude, I've literally gone to chemistry like 3 times this year, and I'm going. I have a B in the class. Wow. I'm like, what? So I ended up finishing school there, and around that time I played Bastion, and I realized like, oh my god, like life is about to suck. Actually, like life is not like you're always like low on the totem pole. You know what I mean? It's kind of how it felt. So right before I'm about to graduate, I am playing this game, and I was talking about it in a video. I didn't know what I was gonna do like with my life. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So after I finish Bastion, like the song plays. You know what I mean? And like you kind of get this feeling, and then it like struck me immediately. I was like, I'm gonna do something with video games. Like I don't know if I'm gonna make any money, but like I gotta do this. Like I gotta talk about it. And I told the story. Like I go to my computer and start like typing about it. Yada. And Wannabe Critic Productions is born 10 years later, basically. So
that's awesome.
I have to ask. This was a very profound experience for me, and it was kind of one of those things like all this crappy stuff that had happened to people like my hometown and like like years that should be good, I don't even remember, and like it sucks. And then it all led up to this moment where it started to kind of like make sense, and it was like a profound whatever. You guys are later on in life. Jacob has a kid. Ryan, do you have kids?
Not really. I'm just kidding. No, I don't.
He has a dog. Hold on.
I do have a dog.
He was about to make a dog joke. He was about to make a fur baby joke.
I make
okay.
No. I have to explain this now. I don't at all call my dog a child. I don't do that ever.
Okay.
But I'm always teasing. Like, all that they do is talk about their kid. Like, oh, it's so cool that we made life. It's awesome. and no, it truly is amazing. And I love their kids. They're like his is literally my nephew. But I just jump in on the conversations about children with my dog. I'm always teasing them.
It's great.
It's funny.
Becomes such a thing where I forget that I'm not just with them anymore, and I keep making jokes about my dog as if it's my child, and then I realize I sound like a crazy person.
Yeah, but then yes. So to answer your question, Nick has a kid. I have a kid. They're within months of each other.
Yeah.
Okay, so I have to ask a question, and thank you for that elaborate explanation, Ryan. I'm leaving that in. Just so you know, I'm not going to pull a Jacob Busch. I'm not going to cut you out. I'm not going to cut your personality.
My
out,
whole thought process was that is getting cut in this episode.
And that's fine.
I'm not cutting. It's all up to you.
Well, and if I would have come on your show and the roles
if
the roles would have been reversed, Jake would have been like, God, no one wants to hear about your tornado story.
Oh, hold on.
No, I'm kidding. I'm joking.
That tornado story is great.
Yeah, that is.
That could have brought me to tears.
Yeah, that's actually
no
meaningful.
No one wants to hear about their kids.
Yeah.
But your tornado story is awesome.
Kid, tornado,
Right.
I'll take tornado.
But there was a point to where I was going with that I talk about it. I had just discovered video games as being. I'd always played video games, but it never had occurred to me that it was this is something that's legit. There's legitimacy to this medium, because I had always kind of come to grips with the fact that I was always going to get made fun of for playing video games, and I think as gamers we all kind of deal with that thing of. You're not going to take me seriously. I mean, professionals in the industry, you go back and listen to that Ashley Barrett interview. She's people are you're actually doing stuff. It's yeah, I've been doing stuff for 10 years. I'm literally the god tier of the indie. I'm part of the god tier of indie video games, literally.
Yep.
And there's not very much notoriety, but I think it comes back to the thing of there really doesn't have to be a ton. Because once you find that thing, it's it totally clicks with you, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And I think that game is for everywhere. For me, it was Bastion, where it was this makes sense. It had felt like I had just discovered my new favorite album, or a painting that I really love. Did you guys at this point in your life have any sort, and I guess Ryan, you're excluded from this. I guess we can kind of cancel out, because you got to do the fur baby thing, but. So, Jacob, I want to start with you. Did you have that profound moment where it was kind of wow, this is really beautiful? Or was it just kind of well, that's cool?
And that's in gaming, right? Or is this in Bastion specifically or gaming?
In Bastion,
broadly?
you know what? Bastion specifically, how did it affect you? And then what was that moment? What was that moment for you where it was a brought to tears moment in a video game?
So, to start with Bastion, I think I went in knowing that was possible because of you. I knew how profound, you've loosely teased how profound Bastion is for you. So I was kind of looking for that moment throughout the whole game, and it really only hits the last 3/4 of the game, which I think tainted maybe my natural response to it. So by the end of it, yes, I did have an emotional response to it, and to the point of looking up what the alternate endings were, because I was did I do the right thing? And we'll get into that, I'm sure.
Yeah, we will.
But I think I was cued off to the fact that something can happen here. So whenever you're cued off, I think your emotions are already a little up, your guard's a little up. And to speak to maybe when my guard wasn't up, dude, we talked about this on our Spirit Fair episode, our review. Nick and I brought to tears, man. This is something, you've talked about the medium of games not being taken seriously, and I've seen it my whole life. I've only really started taking the medium of games seriously when I started reviewing them and thinking of them empirically, where I'm analyzing them and working them out from a emotional perspective. And man, Spirit Fair hit me like a ton of bricks. I bawled during that game, and I respect the medium of games so much more now by first experiencing that, and then playing Bastion now after that fact, I totally see. Where that can connect with someone, though it didn't connect with me because, my own biases. I do see that connection. And like, dude, your story about the tornado and whatnot, there are some parallels to this story, and I'm hoping you're going to divulge a little bit more. But yeah, dude, the medium of games is powerful. I love it.
Yeah, no, you're I'm giving you breadcrumbs, and you're following.
You are.
You're following them.
You guys are doing great according to my plan.
Yeah. like, man, Gabe really brought that tornado thing home. God, that was a gamble.
You nailed that.
I didn't know if that was gonna be,
Over here.
It says Nick grab tissues.
Yeah. Exactly.
Where are the tissues? Do we need tissues, Gabe?
What's that?
Do we need tissues present right now?
No. You shouldn't need any. But I mean,
Okay.
if you do, it's fine. It's whatever.
I'll take them.
So Nick, just kind of throwing it to you, same question. Like, first of all, did you have any sort of like reaction of like, wow, that's really dope? Oh, by the way, if you're not replaying that game on New Game Plus, you're messing up. Just saying.
I see that. I get that.
Just saying.
I dig that.
Yeah.
You got 7 other games to review right now, but yeah, I understand.
I'm just saying. It's still good on a first playthrough, but having all your upgrades present and being able to like just kind of fly through it and be like, I just one-shotted that guy. Like, it's always a good feeling. But Nick, did you have that feeling, that reaction, and then what was the game that like kind of did that for you? It was like, holy crap.
Yeah, I definitely did. I wouldn't use the word profound like I think it had with you. I think what I'm hearing from your experience, and I think we all have these, it's like this very specific time in life, like this moment in life that can never be replicated, and like that moment was there for you as far as like an emotional response and just being like, oh wow, this is sick. 100%. And Jacob kind of touched about Spiritfire, but like any game that has emotionally invoked feelings in me emotionally is always around narrative or writing. And I think sometimes this gives you a glimpse into the developers and the publishers, the people making the game and publishing it, of like their mindset of like the emotion that they put into this story, this fictional story. And if you're aware or emotionally aware, when you hear some of this dialogue, you go, oh wow, like that came from a really deep spot. Like this story is not, I'm not in a video game anymore. I'm in this story that has pain and confusion and doubt and fear and triumph. And it's like, you feel that. And so, yeah, I definitely felt like there were some really cool things there with the story and the narrative, the dialogue. I love the voice acting. So yeah.
Yeah. And then what, was Spiritfarer the same game for you where it was like, holy crap, like didn't realize I could feel this way, like why am I crying, like the quote unquote manly thoughts or whatever, you know what I mean? Like, was it Spiritfarer or was there another game that kind of touched you?
Yeah, I would say Spiritfarer most recently. And I could be a little bit biased. For you, there were some very specific things. Mm-hmm. For me, it was like, when we talk about like, oh, this is a video game, there's nothing video gamey about people dying from cancer and kids getting bullied and suicide and like some of the stories that were told in Spiritfarer. And it's the same with like really deep dialogue and good story writing in any good game. It's like, that's not video gamey. That hits and it slaps in a certain way because it's so real.
Yeah.
Right. And we feel that. And so, I think that's just the creative way of putting real life into what we're looking at as a game. And so, yeah, Spiritfarer is probably one of them, probably the most recent. But I think I've had profound experiences with both Skyrim and Zelda, where games just like, it was a chapter in my life where, for me, I lived alone in Dallas with people I didn't know, with roommates I had just met, and like, I put so much time into Skyrim and like an uncertain time in my life. So like there are times that can never be replicated again where games had an impact like that, and that's what makes me think of Skyrim for me.
Yeah.
No, that's amazing, and I can kind of resonate with Skyrim too, like, because there was one album that I had on repeat while I would play Skyrim, because I wouldn't always listen to it. Like Skyrim would be the game like I would just like totally focus in and I would listen to music. Like I always had music going. So whenever I hear this songs from this record, there's just images of like doing like the Dark Brotherhood quest and like being on my horse in the rain and like I can see and feel and put myself in that time period. And when a game can do that, nothing else can make me do that. Like, and it's the same thing with Bastion, you know, and yeah, you were kind of touching like on the subject matter, right? Because, you know, the whole thing about Bastion is like, it's about this kid that finds himself alone, just trying to like weather this cataclysm, right? These bad things that are happening. He's having to like overcome these trials and these tribulations, and he's having to like get through all of it. And Jacob, you very much touched it on the head of like if you type in May 22nd, 2011, the first thing that comes up is 2011 Joplin tornado.
Yeah.
Like literally that's what comes up. So it kind of hit me like a ton of bricks where it was like, you kind of, you know, whenever you're a kid and you're younger, like a younger kid, because I'm still a kid, and you're like, you just try and push through things that are hard, right? Mm-hmm. Like you just kind of like have this off switch. Like for me, it was like this rapid fire succession of, it's like my parents got divorced, then the tornado hit, then I was like going back and forth to Arkansas working that summer to like stay busy. Then it was making the decision of I'm going to go to school there. And then it was like, okay, I'm back in Joplin. I'm going to school in the mall. Like what's going on? It was like all these things, like one thing right after the other. And it was like, no, man, like I'm not going to feel sorry for myself. Like I'm just going to keep going, like just going to keep on pushing on. And then this stupid little $10, I think I got it on sale like this. That's like, oh, that looks like a cool art style. You know, I like video games, whatever. I'm going to keep myself preoccupied. And then by the end of it, that weekend, I was by myself playing it. And it was like all of this stuff that I had been dealing with, like for the past 3 years, kind of all came to a head as like, oh my God, like symbolism. It was like one of the first like things of symbolism I had ever, it was so weird how it worked out. And, you know, here I am now, like talking to you guys about it, you know, like having this conversation. And it's cool that video games can be that thing that bring us together as like acquaintances and, you know, like bring us together as like fellow podcasters and just, you know, fellow friends as such, you know, it's just a really cool thing that video games can do for us. So I definitely need to check out Spirit Fair too, because I've heard really good things. But Ryan, you kind of got left out of that conversation a little bit. But I mean, in your experience in the 3 hours you've played, have you experienced anything profound where you were like, oh, looky there?
Not yet.
Yeah.
No, not yet. Not with this game. I don't know that I've had any like meaningful dialogue besides like the hilarious narration.
Yeah.
I do have like, I think we've talked about this all the time is, you know, what you're saying is in your childhood, you attach memories to like games you were playing. Like that's how meaningful games can be. And so I have countless memories that like this game activates that time of my life in my brain that I would have never thought of otherwise. And probably the first one that like actually moved me was Mass Effect. Actually, specifically Mass Effect 2, but the whole series. It was the first time I thought, wow, they could do some seriously incredible things with video games because it was just such a powerful story, unreal experience for, you know, top to bottom. So I totally understand what you're coming from.
Yeah, and as someone who had played Mass Effect just recently, I very much felt the same thing. I was like, wow, can't believe that they actually got me to feel this way from a game that's clunky as all get out still.
Right.
You know, but it's like the story beats hit where they should. So, really quick, I wanted to say, what do you guys think of the sound design and like the music in this game?
Yeah, so, you know, there's the reoccurring song a couple times. What is it? Build the Wall? Is that, Gabe, am I saying that right?
Yeah, so, yeah, there's like Build That Wall and
then the end song.
Yeah, Setting Sail, Coming Home.
Oh, I love that song. And then throughout, there's kind of a repetitious theme. And, I mean, this is coming from someone, again, who played Hades, which is the evolution and development of Darren Corbin, his direction. But the music was good. And in contrast to Hades, it wasn't as good, right? Like you would expect an artist to develop and be better over time. And certainly that's what Darren has done. So there are these standout highlights that are just like these beautiful moving pieces. And then there's just like the rest of the the soundtrack and the score, and it's fine and it's good, but it's not Hades. So like I kind of have this bias coming into it, where I've kind of seen the evolution of the start and kind of the current state of Supergiants and their scores, and Darren and his scoring and his music abilities. And dude, he's a masterpiece. He's amazing.
Yeah, it almost feels though like it's backfilling and painting context.
Yeah,
like this is how I feel. Maybe you don't feel this way, but it's like we have this beautiful painting of Hades, and it's like going back and playing Bastion. It's like painting the edges around that beautiful photo of Hades. It's like it's kind of giving me like this. It's well, you wrote this, so thank you.
Yeah. I'm obviously complimenting my own writing.
So I feel like it's giving us we love context here at BLG. You know that, like it's giving us this newfound context of something that we just played in the future, of something we're playing now that was made in the past. So it's pretty cool, I think.
That's
it was
well
angsty,
said.
right? They had some angsty.
It was pretty angsty. Yeah, it kind of reveled in that theme, similar to Hades. Of like, I hate you, Dad. Like it's kind of like that, like undertone.
I'm just a kid, and life is a nightmare.
I know that song. See, I've seen the TikToks. I've seen the trends.
We lived it, Gabe. We lived it.
We lived that, brother.
Whatever.
That's a story of my life.
Whatever. Old. No, I'm just kidding. No,
We are old.
No, it is hearing you guys say that though. It does make me more excited because after watching a No Clip documentary, I have a makeshift studio here. We got soundproofing right here. There's soundproofing back there. I got my drum set to the right. I got the only microphone I'm ever gonna need. I got my mixer here. I got everything I need here, right? And watching Darren Korb do his thing, it was that thing of, holy freaking crap, I can do this. Like literally, I sent him my stuff and some of my stuff, and he like gave me very detailed like explanations of like, dude, like tweak this, like think about this, like I really like that part, like do this, and this. I'm like, it's freaking possible. Like literally, if you just meet the right people, I can do this from my. It was just like a super cool full circle moment where seeing his evolution and knowing kind of he's the same age that I was. That's what the crazy thing is he's the same age I was when they did Bastion.
No way.
Dead serious.
Wow.
So what? He's in his mid 30s right now.
Yep, mid 30s.
Dude,
I'm too old.
See, this is the thing.
What have you done, Jacob?
Exactly.
Made a baby.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, exactly. It was kind of a cool moment. I was like,
see, and that makes even more sense because you don't paint masterpieces when you're 24.
Yeah.
You just paint a lot and get experience, and it all leads up to the future Hades, the whatever he does after Hades. Goodness,
Yeah, no, exactly. I mean, hopefully it's like just like more Hades stuff, because I would. Here's what they're gonna do. Here, I'm calling it right now. If I'm lying, I'm dying. I'll bet you 100 Doge. All right. What they're gonna do?
Keep your Doge.
What they're going to do? All right. They're going to release all the DLC. It's gonna be day one Game Pass is what's gonna happen. And then the deluxe edition will be available for purchase for $39.99 on PlayStation and Switch. Calling it now. It now. I'm just saying that's what's going to happen.
If you're not lying, you're not. What was the phrase?
If I'm lying, I'm dying. I'm just saying.
There it is.
Oh.
Yeah.
I mean, Gabe, I think the Game Pass prediction is extremely clear with Hades, right? That's what's lined up. They can't talk about it yet. Nintendo has them locked down right now, but dude, this is coming to Game Pass someday.
It is. It's for sure. It's coming everywhere, but they were smart to put it on Switch first.
Yeah. I want to know who made that happen. That is a huge deal to get that console exclusive.
That's a big win.
Well, I'll tell you what made it happen was all their games sold really, really well on Switch. Yeah. And every time they would put them on sale, they would sell really, really well. So for all Nintendo cares about is numbers. You can't convince me otherwise. So
not you, not your family.
Yeah,
they hate
not
both
you.
of you.
It's like
they want your money.
We actually have the Metroid trilogy that we're sitting on. Where it's not the right time. It's like I know
you can bring it up.
I know you guys have it.
I can't even hear those words.
It's just an emulation of what a fan made actually, and they're going to sell it to you in a couple of years.
Yeah, exactly.
So
which is fine. I'll buy it. I'll buy it for full price. But
I'll still buy it. Yeah.
Anyways, okay. Well, we've reached the end of our discussion for that. Now we have to score this bad boy. We have to put
Yes. Oh,
we have to put a legit score on this. Ryan, you don't get to. All right,
He doesn't.
You're not
I thought you were gonna say like, do you like it? I was-
No, yeah, you're review in progress, so you can give a score if you want to. That's acceptable.
Graft me in later, and I'll do my own spiel.
You have
I'll do my
well, you
own
better
podcast.
freaking finish it, and now you have 2 games to play, bro. You have 2 freaking games to finish.
I know.
God, who let you on the show?
Gabe, I question it every week. I ask it every week.
You need him though. You need him there because there's
right.
the scary thing is
That's
there's like a million more of them out there. You know what I
I
mean?
make you
They're
look
like,
good.
Like me, I'm like, don't pick on Ryan. You know.
He wrote the script at the end of the day. We
Yeah,
can't,
yeah,
we can't
right.
argue that.
I have orchestrated.
Wait,
this.
Gabe, real quick before we put a score on this. I mean, especially with the revelation of kind of your backstory brought up and your personal experience with this game, we're not talking about this choice at the end here. Is that not significant?
So
Spoilers.
it's hard because
He spoil warning. I heard he spoil warned it.
I was trying to be respectful of your guys' time, but if you want to go into it, I'm down.
Quickly, I want to go quickly into it. Because,
What did you? Okay,
I get
so
the time thing.
Yeah, so at the end of the game, Ryan, what happens is you're presented with the choice. The entire purpose of the Bastion is basically to build this machine that can either make it to where before the calamity happened, and there's going to be another cycle of inevitably having to do this again, having to get all the crystals. Like you'll have to go back to the Bastion and do everything again, or you can basically deal with the consequences, and at the end of it, like basically there's enough power to like kind of help sustain the world to like a manageable level, basically. But you have to live with it. You still have to live with the fallout of the cataclysm.
And Gabe, like, I don't want to. You stop me here because I'm going to draw. This is what I do. Okay, I draw parallels. I connect emotionally with things. Like your story connects with this story so profoundly, in my opinion. Like I didn't connect with the story because I didn't experience anything like this. But like, you're literally talking about a world-changing event that impacts your life personally, and you have the choice to, and again, when I played this, I didn't understand the impact, but you have the choice to carry on with this existing world and learn from it, or to rewind time and kind of like forget about what you experienced and just and kind of carry on naively. Dude, Gabe, like what you told about the tornado and your personal events, this game connected for an obvious reason. Yeah. And like I feel like we're remiss to skip to a score right now without drawing some profound parallels. Like
you could have built a Bastion.
like I'm a like, and this is a weird thing, but since having a kid, it's just the turning point. I'm an oddly emotional person now. I'm way more emotional than I ever was. I cry more than ever. I love all of it. My wife loves all of it. But hearing your story and then hearing how you connect with this, it's nuts, dude. Like there's parallels here that are insane. And I want to throw it to you. This is the producer. This is the host in me. What did you choose your first time playing this game? Like, did you choose to restore the world, or did you choose to carry on with this current state, this cataclysm?
So it's funny you asked that, because the first time I played it, I chose to forget everything, like rewind.
Restoration.
Yeah, because I had it in mind. I was like, like I'm gonna play this again. I was alone for the weekend, so I was like, I once I got to the end, it had clicked with me. I was like, this is the end. Like this is an important choice. And I remember picking the thing and feeling like that wasn't very satisfying. Like just reverting to everything the way it was before. I was like, that wasn't very satisfying. Like what the heck?
Yeah.
It wasn't until later that day, because I literally beat it in one sitting, like right after that. Then it hit me. Then whenever I picked, like, you got to live with what happened, and like you see the illustrations, and I saved Zolf, and like I like picked the good guy ending, like I did everything, and you're seeing everything. Then it hit me as like we're all just kind of caught up in this thing, and like everyone has their own like personal cataclysm to deal with, and a lot of times, like it can be one thing after another that gets you to that point where it's like, wow, like that was really, like that was hard. Like that was hard to get through. And yeah, no, it's so interesting to ask, because like the first time I picked, like, I'll go through it, whatever, I'll go through it again, cool. But having like a sense of finality that I already knew what had come before, and being able to go through it the second time and like kind of feel like you can definitely sense that's how the developers like that's the one they want you to pick, I think. But I also think it was nice of them to put special emphasis on having choice. So yeah, that's what I picked. What about you?
Yeah, so I chose restoration because really, quite frankly, the word restoration is a positive word. And it wasn't until, looking up some videos on what the full impact of the story meant was that I regretted that decision and that I felt like kind of continue on with this world because, to quickly recap, there's this war between these two different groups and one of them wipes out the other, but at the same time, one of them's kind of like willing to wipe out the other. And I kind of just settle on the fact that, yes, I chose restoration. I chose to rewind time, but it doesn't mean history won't repeat itself. And I kind of regretted that decision when I had some clarity on the situation. And kind of like listening to you, it's this whole idea of, do you rewind time and kind of go back and live with this facade of what life is and just to be a little bit happier? Or do you push through and persevere into kind of this new world that is a little more bleak, but at least you've learned from it, right? And man, your story is awesome. I chose restoration, regretted it. I think the other option was the better decision. And your personal experience, I'm not going to forget that. That's where gaming is beautiful, and we all connect differently. And I didn't connect with Bastion like that. Like I did not connect like it. But dude, the parallels with your life is it's unmatched.
That's so insane. And that's really funny. I actually had the exact same experience because I don't think that I fully understood what the options were.
Yeah.
And then I looked it up.
Same.
And
I don't understand.
I was like, dang it. And then I was like, your story is incredible. But I think that some of that, as you said, everyone has their own cataclysms. I think it's really powerful to look at the other option of restoration and saying, like, in real life, you don't really get to reset. Like, you can reset in the sense that you can numb out and do things differently. But like in the real world, like the most successful people are the people that take that cataclysm with them forward and learn from it and say, it's not perfect, but now I have that experience. I learned from it, and that's going to be a part of who I am in the future. And I did the same thing. I wish I would have chosen the other one, but I chose restoration, and I got the same effect you did at first. I was like, what? That's kind of
fell flat.
That's kind of
like
I was waiting for my world to shake, but just didn't.
And I think that's the thing too, because like I always have kind of the ending is really good, but it's also kind of very unclear because I was reading something. I was like, God. I was like, that doesn't feel right. I was like, what actually is this? I know you can either, and then I remembered you can either escape. Basically, it gives you enough time to escape, or it basically rewinds everything to the beginning. Are the two choices. Like, that's basically how it, the protocol that's there. It's evacuation protocol or restoration protocol, right? But Rux even hints to at the end of the game, he's like, yeah, like, it might, it might make something fine, or nothing. Still, history still may repeat itself. You know what I mean? It still has that thing of, even whenever you do deal with something, like, it may happen again. Depending on whatever that cataclysm is, right? I don't think another EF5 tornado is going to roll through Joplin, Missouri. I certainly hope not. That'd be terrible. But still having a sense of, by the end of the game, the decisions you make, it's like, I made my decision. I got to live with it. Like, either way, you get the sense of what the narrator and the developer is trying. That you get the sense of the story they're trying to tell you.
Yeah.
And it does a really good job. And Ryan, I'm really excited for you to finish it so you can weigh in on this conversation.
Yeah, I chose the bow and arrow and the hammer, and then I killed Rux.
Nice. I killed him. Just straight up killed him.
Just killed him. Yeah, they didn't even give me the option. I just walked up, hit him with the hammer.
Wise decision from the leader of Nintendites. So, well, gentlemen, that was a very good discussion. More emotional. I mean, it's kind of hard for me to talk about the game without getting emotional, and like bringing personal stuff into it. But it's a great game.
I'm getting emotional.
I love it, man.
Don't cry, because if you start crying, I'm gonna cry, and then
let's cry. Let's hug each other. Let's hug it out.
Let's hug it out. It'll be like the beginning of Fight Club.
Yes.
it is what it is. But no, it is time. I'm glad we got to spend so much time on this first game because I have a confession to make.
Uh-oh.
I am a huge Supergiant fan, and that I have beaten Bastion a ton of times. I've spent a ton of time with Transistor and spent a little bit of time with Pyre and a little bit of time with Hades, but I have never completed any of the other Supergiant games.
Wow.
So
wow.
this is gonna be
fake fan. Is that what
True,
I'm hearing?
Ooh,
true
bandwagon
confessions.
fan.
True confessions.
Hey, this is
So
a safe
essentially,
place.
we're the same size of fan. Is what I'm hearing.
I mean,
No, hold
what's
on.
better?
I beat Hades. Hades.
He's beaten 2 of their games.
Well, what's better? I mean, a guy who's played Bastion like 12 times at this point, or some wannabe Busch League guy out there that's
the Busch League guy.
just kind of dabbled. You know what I mean?
No,
what I'm hearing is the exact same thing.
Oh, well, it is.
I'm not hearing any
somewhat.
differentiating between what you're saying.
So I wanted to just kind of like full disclosure, like we're kind of in the same boat in the way, but I haven't finished Hades, but I have spent, and honestly, it's going to get a little real with Transistor because I love the artistic side of that game, and I absolutely hate the gameplay.
There you go.
So it'll be interesting
so
to
good.
see how we feel about it, and
It does look good.
Same thing with Pyre too. So before we move on with these reviews any further, I just wanted to let we're on an equal playing field for the most part here.
I love that disclaimer.
Yeah, and it's good. It's great. So now it's time to rate Bastion. Wannabe's honest opinion. Jacob, we're going to start with you.
So, and again, like this is hearing your personal story, I would rate this differently, right? I didn't connect with the story. And at times I didn't connect with the gameplay. And I played the better version of this game, which is Hades. Now, I loved seeing where it came from, but it's still, at the end of the day, a 10-year-old game. So I don't know how you rate here, Gabe. Or are we rating context in mind? Because if I were to rate this game as of right now, not as of 2011, if I were to rate this game right now, this would fall around, because you don't do halves, this would fall around a 7 for me on the Busch League scale. And again, that's probably different on the Wannabe Critic scale. A 7 is an enjoyable game. And that mix is due to a story that only really hit at the very end for me. The last 15% of the game, I felt that story beat. And then also the fact that the gameplay mechanics hit me a little negatively in the sense of, ranged is half the combat here, and I never felt like I was fully in control of my ranged combat. So a 7, again, that's on kind of the Busch League rating, and I want to clarify here, because this could be an 8 as well, but like a 7's not a bad thing to me. Like, no. 7 is plenty of room to improve, but that's kind of my gut response as a 7.
That's fine. I'm a firm believer in whatever feels right. And that's where that kind of extra layer of decision comes in. Like, I can't pick 7.5. I want to give it a 7.5. But it's like, man, an 8 feels wrong. 7. You're forced into it, right? It's like, well, that's how you feel, truly. So no, that's great. Yeah. I think that's that's great. I think that's a totally fair score. Ryan. Or no, actually Nick. Ryan, you go last.
I also feel
you're
Ignore Ryan for the rest of the episode.
The story hit really at the end.
Yeah, exactly. Nick, what about you?
Yeah, mine's actually the exact same. I think that on the if we were doing the points for BLG, it would definitely have been a 7.5, maybe even a little bit higher after this conversation had I played it on. Again, here's some context for playing on different consoles, different platforms, but it would have been a little bit higher for me, I bet, if I'd have played it on a console.
For sure it would have.
But what speaks to me the most was there, which is art and dialogue and story. So it's not a huge damper by any means, but yeah, I'm where Jacob's at.
Well said. Now, Ryan, Let me see. I'm not really sure how we do this.
Just move on.
Now, Ryan, tell me a little
skip
bit
him.
more about your dog.
Yeah, no. So as of right now, like, is it enjoyable?
no.
Is it enjoyable for you? I mean, what's like your current review in progress? What's your number?
I was actually expecting a higher number
From us?
from you guys.
Really?
Yeah.
I've really enjoyed it. I don't know, and it's probably because I haven't played Hades.
It doesn't hurt. It doesn't help Bastion. Playing Hades does not help Bastion.
I love
really
the range.
doesn't. From what I've
Yeah.
played of Hades, it doesn't help Bastion. I'm like, no, this is literally Bastion, but better.
It is.
Yeah, and that makes perfect sense. I was kind of imagining more of an 8 from them, but yeah, I don't have a negative thing to say about it, so it's been great.
So Gabe and I want to, flesh out some of that. It's the addictive aspect of Hades wasn't present here. Where like with Hades, I craved the combat. I craved going a little bit further. Where I did like with Bastion, I liked the small levels and how short they were and how you can kind of do it bite-sized. But I didn't necessarily crave it. And that's kind of like the big separation here is that, I don't know if I would have played through Bastion if we weren't reviewing it fully. Like I would have played some of
Might
it.
have fallen off.
I would have fallen off, I think,
Yeah.
because there's always another game to pull you in. Hades I would never drop off Hades. I would always continue playing that. So I bring up Hades a lot, obviously, because it's still the same developer's pedigree and like their brainchild. So it's a compliment in the same sense, but like I do love to see this growth of a developer, right? There's this room for development, and I'm excited to see what Transistor has in store. Though you said gameplay might not be there, but obviously they've grown since Bastion, and I'm excited to see where that middle ground is.
That's very astute. I appreciate that. Nick, did you have anything that you wanted to flesh out?
No, I just think I guess I'll just reiterate what everyone's saying about playing Bastion second. I mean, I think it's really cool. It backfills this context to everything else that they're doing. Hopefully, there'll be even more context after Transistor. Yeah, I mean, everything that was in Bastion was just like 10 times better in Hades. The art, the dialogue.
I cannot wait to freaking play this game. Like,
So,
Just do it.
And that's not like that's not a backhanded comment at Bastion. That's saying that like everything that I loved in Bastion was, there in Hades, but just a lot more fleshed out. So, no, it's a really, really good experience. I had seen Bastion on the App Store for like years and never got it for who knows, for no reason. So I'm glad we played it.
well said. Okay. Well, I appreciate it. My official score, I think I gave it a 9 last time. But after playing it and spending more time with it and kind of, spending more time behind the microphone and the camera, you kind of take yourself a little more seriously, you know what I mean? And it's not a thing of like, and I think you find yourself playing a lot more games, you know what I mean? Because you just get more experience and you start being like, okay, this game came out. This game reminds me of this game, and whatever, yada, yada, yada. Start cross-referencing and, like, making connections and all this other stuff. In my heart of hearts, I really think there's parts of this game that are a 10 out of 10, easily. Dialogue is one of a kind.
Yeah, it's really good.
It's one of a kind. And it doesn't... It leans into what it does, therefore it doesn't fall into the gimmick. Like, where it's like, oh, that's like gimmicky. Like, never once, every time I go through it, I'm like, this is so good. Like, so good. Logan Cunningham, shout out to him. Super good voice actor. The music at the end of it gets me every time. Game clunky. Combat is clunky. There is things about it, it's like, but it also falls into the thing of like, oh, but it was our first try, and blah. It's like, this is an indie game. This is a single A game. This doesn't fall into Hades territory where it's like double A, and like up into talks of like, oh, like this is better than The Last of Us in terms of narrative, like, or that's what the critics say, is like, okay, score wise, like this has ranked higher, you know what I mean, from BAFTAs and all this other stuff.
Yep.
I think the fairest score I could give this game is an 8. I think that's the objective score. I feel like if it was your first time going back to play this game on any console, it'd be like that was a great experience. Is what I can legitimately say. But I think 7, 8, tomato. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like they're so close, and it would
100%.
totally make sense for someone to rate it lower. Had you not played Hades, you would have rated this game higher. I know for a fact. But the things that I've heard about Hades and playing myself, it was one of those things like it's kind of like an eye closed moment where it's like they literally took Bastion and made it at least the combat and gameplay so much better. So
Yeah.
Even the story too, Gabe. Like it is every aspect of Bastion. It is multiplied by like 5 to 10.
The score too.
The score too. Like it's.
I mean, it's literally like all the really good stuff in Bastion. They just magnified it. I wouldn't say like 10 times better. I think I said that earlier, but like they took those things and they're clearly better.
Yeah.
Like you can see that the developers have just gone through this journey of, man, it's incredible.
And like recognizing our biases, which is, yes, we're playing this in 2021. Like
Yeah.
it's 10 years after the game came out. Yeah, maybe if I reviewed this 10 years ago, it might be an 8 or a 9. Like I get that. I respect that.
Totally.
So I think in the context of like, does Hades exist right now? Well, play Hades. Like that is the better game. But after playing Hades, go back and experience Bastion. I recommend it. It's
if you like
it's a great
Supergiant.
game.
Yeah.
If you like Supergiant, and like after playing Hades, there's no way you don't like Supergiant. Like that. That's the summary here. So experience their work, experience their skill, and that's absolutely starts with Bastion.
There you have it. Spoken from the Busch League gamers themselves. Gentlemen, this has been almost a 2-hour podcast. Technical difficulties are a thing, and also emotions are a thing. But look at us go. We've had a good conversation. It's been a lot of fun. I can't thank you enough for your time. I'm excited to explore these other games. And if it seems like I'm trying to wrap this up, it's because literally it's 1 a.m. for me. And in 5 minutes... my internet is going to dip out because my internet service is like at 105 on the dot every single day, every single night, reset every time. So please, Elon, come through with the Starlink in my area.
Come on, Elon.
So really fast, gentlemen, we're going to be recording more. I don't know when this episode's going to be out. Who knows? Who cares? It's going to be top tier whenever it's ready. Where can people find you guys though?
So the main spot is bushleaguegaming.com. That's where all of our blog posts or reviews or podcasts are housed. But you can also find us on all podcast platforms. If you search Busch League Gaming, I'm at Busch League GMNG on Twitter. Ryan is at Busch League Ryan, and Nick is at Nick A Beard on Twitter. And I think that's about it, right? Are we anywhere else?
No, I think
that's it.
And Gabe, we think the world of you, man.
Yeah.
You're doing really good work, and we you've been raining compliments on us all night, but we can't speak highly enough for the content cowboy.
Amen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There it is.
One of these days, next review, I'm showing up in the cowboy hat just for you guys.
Oh man, that'd be amazing.
I literally named one of my Patreon tiers after that, content cowboy. So
you're welcome.
You're welcome. Or no, it's not a tier, but it's a perk. Exclusive content from the content.
Pictures
cowboy
of Gabe in a
himself.
cowboy hat.
Yeah. Dude, we need more. If there was a tier where you're wearing chaps
and a
hat, we might be in.
I may or may not have bought a kilt.
I'm looking for chaps.
Well, I have Scottish Highlands, so
let's see it.
Thematic.
Oh yeah, your cows. Let's see it. All right.
Yeah.
All right.
So you be on the lookout because I'm working up something that's going to be glorious.
I'm ready for it.
Are you supposed to wear something under the kilt? I'm just curious.
No, you're not.
Is it true? Like there's no underwear under the kilt?
Traditionally, nope.
Yeah.
Right. Asking for a friend.
I'm too fat for that, so I'll have to my kilt actually barely fits. So I'm gonna have to wear shorts or something because it wouldn't be a pretty sight. You know what I mean?
Don't do it.
I can't.
Keep it real.
Hey, live your truth, man.
Listen, ladies and gentlemen, this is don't let these guys tickle your ear holes too much. All right, this is my show. Okay, how dare you? First of all,
thank you for coming on to.
Ryan. Special thank you to Ryan for writing the script for today's show.
My pleasure.
No, in all seriousness, though, if you made it this far, I really, really appreciate it. Make sure you peep the description down below because we got a bunch of different stuff. This episode is, in fact, brought to you in part by patreon.com/wannabecritic. So if you want to support the show in a different way, you can't listen to all the content, but you love what I am trying to accomplish over here, you want to check it out, there's a bunch of tiers over there. I'm incorporating all the things that I love to do, music, podcasting, early access content. I have these little nifty things. It's called Pod Deck questions, where I'm going to be answering these questions that seem significant, and I'm going to be posting those over on Patreon. To make the people feel like they're getting something special. You know what I mean? It's just baby steps. Baby steps is all I'm saying.
It's only right.
So, and also make sure you check out popcultusa.com. They sent me this dope Miller High Life hat. If you don't like Miller High Life, you're a coward.
I don't like it.
Also,
I don't like it.
yeah, but no.
Coward.
Hit me with a Busch beer.
Can you guys hear me?
Wow.
His internet really does cut out it.
Wow.
Dang. He knew.
Do a proper sign off, ladies and gentlemen. Here's the thing: it's been crazy. It's been more technical difficulties than I've ever had podcasting ever. So a big apologies, but a big thank you to the Busch League guys for putting up with it and being patient. Hopefully we won't have this much trouble next time. But you as the listeners, you're not even going to know, you know what I mean? Cause I'm going to edit this thing into the ground. I can already tell.
They'll know. They'll know.
They won't. They will not. Don't you put that evil on me, Ricky Bobby. All right.
We'll know after hearing necrophilia 10 times in the first 2 minutes.
we cursed this episode.
Necrophilia. That's amazing.
Nick.
Oh!
Yeah. Necrophilia.
Can we go back in time 5 seconds?
Thank you for that,
and not
Gabe.
say that?
Exactly. You're welcome. Necrophilia. So give us a proper Busch League send-off.
Yeah, I mean, all I do is say bye. We'll catch you next week.
I love you.
Yes, I love you. Bye-bye.
And before we go, check this out. Well, whatever possessed you to check out any of the content that you saw today, I just want to say thank you so much for doing so. If you check the description down below, you'll see that there's a variety of different projects that I'm associated with. This is Wannabe Critic Productions after all. So I just wanted to say, if you enjoyed what you saw today, consider giving some of those other projects a chance as well. There's a lot of stuff that I'm a part of that I do. If you were here for me or for someone else that you saw today, again, just thank you for checking it out, and I hope to see you again. But until next time, I'm Gabriel Fast, and I'll always be the Wannabe Critic.